Hello everyone. Um, Tonight I'm going to be modding this Eachine 800D goggle. What I'm trying to accomplish here is just have it last longer while I'm at the field without me worrying that it's going to go flat mid-flight and I'm going to lose a drone because of it. So other than the battery, there's tons of battery mods on the web because this is a great goggle. It's actually quite nice to use. I actually really like it, but there's tons of battery mods online because the battery is not the best. So some guys take the battery out of the front of the unit and put it here on the back of the strap. Just to change the weight balance, because that weight right up here, the battery sits basically flush with the front here, and that weight on that fulcrum creates quite a bit of droopiness to the headset. Now this is not exactly what I'm trying to combat, but if you want to, you could do the mod I'm about to do and actually remove the battery out of here completely. That is an option. I'm just electing not to do it. So my plan of action here is, whereas some other people actually either remove this battery, put it here, and put a cable through the headphone jack here, or remove the battery out of the front, replace it with a different 2S battery that goes here. That's a 7.4 volt battery. Then run a cable along here once again through here, and then just run the unit off of like a different battery. I'm actually trying to increase the lifetime of this guy, so I don't want to replace the battery with another battery or give myself the option of switching out more 2S batteries because I happen to not have any 2S batteries. So what I want to do is I want to wire up a 3S battery, this guy actually, via the XT60 connector. And what I'm going to attempt to do is come through here, make a hole here, and connect it to the charging port. Where's this unit? Okay, this unit here, which is the charger that comes with the headset, actually outputs, see if we can show it there, 12 volts DC at 2 amps. So that's why I ended up going, well, maybe we can replace this at the field with a 3S battery that's going to be around about 12 volts. I measured the output of this unit, and what it does output is about 12.5 volts actually, which means I'm quite happy that this port here is going to tolerate about the 12.5 volt that a 3S battery will charge up to. So what I'm going to try to do is splice a wire onto this connector and see how that goes. So step one here is going to be, of course, sliding off the lens assembly with the viewer. Then we've got 4 screws here, which we're going to undo. There we go. Now with all the screws out, I'm just going to put these here somewhere. Basically, the top of this unit will lift right off. Just a little bit of prying here, and that will come right off. And now we're looking at the screen there and a PCB that sits here at the back of it. This blue thing here, that is the battery. Like I say, it's sitting right at the front here, and that's basically just hot glued in there with a cable here that's going into a connector. We're not going to mess with that today. Today we're going to focus, let's get this here, on this guy here. So this is the charging connector, and we want to be able to apply 12 volt to it. So you'll see down there's a ribbon cable that's just connecting this board to this screen to I'm not very happy about the fact that the back of the screen, which is completely metal, is, as you can see, like a millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters from the back of this PCB, which has exposed contacts everywhere. That's a bit of an odd design choice. I would have put some kind of plastic membrane or something between those two, but hey, I guess you get what you pay for. So we can pull this battery out just by applying a bit of force to it. There it is. See if we can disconnect. Oh, actually, the whole thing's sliding out anyway. So there's a little ribbon cable. As you see, the moment I put this down, all those contacts want to contact the back of this, and the battery is still attached to it. That is such an odd design choice, but okay. There's the battery out. Now I can safely lay this down. We're going to undo this little ribbon cable connector, which is just take your 2 fingers and let me show you. And you press up against this black bar, has 2 exposed edges there and there. You just push it back a little bit, and then the ribbon cable will just slide out of there. So let's take this screen and put it down somewhere nice and soft. Get that out of the way. And get this out of the way for now. Cool. Now on the back of this connector here, which is the charging connector, if we flip this board around, we see those 3 contacts there. That contact there at the back, that is the positive side of it, and those 2 pads there are the ground. You can actually see the fact that that is a separate trace on the board, and that this just connects to the ground plane of the board. So we're going to be soldering stuff onto there. For the purposes of this, I've actually got myself a piece of cable here, which I want to snip, so I'm just getting my snips quickly. Just checking this is off of an old switch I've got. I actually happen to have an XT60 connector around here somewhere. Let me get that too. Alright, so we've got our XT60 connector, which I'm going to want to solder onto this wire. Well, let's go with this side of the wire. Which I'm going to solder then onto these pads. So I'm going to start on this end. I'm going to choose this conductor here with the line on it to be 1 negative. And I think for safety's sake here, I'm going to strip this negative side a bit shorter than the positive so that the insulation runs past there. I think that's going to work nicely. Let me show you what I'm going on about. So like there, I'm going to connect those like that. The focus is not great there. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, now we've got these conductors tinned. So now we're going to basically cut them a bit shorter and solder them down onto the PCB of the goggle. Let me see if I can show you what that looks like. There we go. Focus, please. Nope. No. Okay, but there we can see the joint that I've made. Cool. And now basically just have to connect the other end and see if it works. I'll chat to you once I've done that. Okay, so now we've got a positive and negative connected over here with a nice piece of cable and XT60 connector. Made triply doubly sure that the polarity is correct on the XT60 to this point. Now we just basically have to put it back together. I've made a little notch here just behind the connector slot. So just extended that notch with another little notch, just using my little snips here. I've done the same on the top plate. Where's that? Here we go. Right there you can see a second little cutout that I made next to the primary cutout for the connector. If we test fit this, let's just slide this nicely back. We can see that the cable sits quite snugly in there, and I'm going to put this down over it, and she ends up coming out quite nicely. And as it turns out, if I take my normal charger jack and I plug it in there, that actually fits right next to this cable perfectly. So let's assemble all of this and we'll give it a test. Got our screen here again, and what we're going to do is just put this down and then very gently just make sure that this little black bar here is pried back for the ribbon cable. Insert the ribbon cable very gently in there, make sure it sits quite straight. You'll see I've moved the board down just a little bit to put a little bit of tension on this little ribbon cable to hold it nice and straight and flush. And then I'm going to use my two thumbnails to just press these little black retainer clips back in, and then yeah, it looks good. Alright, so let's continue the assembly. We want to make sure at this point that the PCB slides into its little guiding rails and the screen slides into its own little guiding rails. As I said, I don't quite trust the back of this PCB so close to the metal here. What I did see is that there's a chip standing a bit proud there. That's probably that chip is maintaining the distance here to stop contact occurring. But so I guess it's not the end of the world, but it's also maybe not the best. We're going to connect the internal battery up again. Okay, let's see if we can still turn her on. You do see a little light there when I press the power button. And as we can see there, it's a bit bright for the camera. Screen still works. So I guess what I want to see actually is whether I can Well, it shouldn't matter. We should be able to plug this in, and we should see the charging light come on to show that it's charging the internal battery from this power supply. And that's what we do see. So in theory, this was an option I wanted to show you. What we can do, disconnect that guy, and then disconnect the internal battery, which is a bit of a fidgety thing to do. I wouldn't do it at the field. Oops, I've turned it on. There we go. Oh, come on now. Cool, so now we've got this cable disconnected. The screen is off, obviously, because it doesn't have power. If you wanted to, you could remove this battery, plug your 3S in here. You'll see this light is on. You don't see it on the camera, but it is just flashing red and green at a very, very quick, very rapid rate. I think that is to indicate that it's not finding the built-in battery, so it can't charge it from this power supply at the moment. But we can turn on the unit, and she is firing up. So and it's displaying. Also, you can't see that; it's probably way too bright, but we're showing a full battery there. So in my estimation, we should be able to use this unit now without the internal battery at all. But I'm going to hook the internal battery back up. That way I can choose whether to leave this unplugged and just run off of the internal battery. And maybe if that battery gets low, I can run off of this. So basically add to this battery the lifetime of this battery, and I think we could go pretty much all day never having to worry about batteries again. So let me just continue the reassembly. Okay, now just going to get something to clean the screen off with. Just wipe it down because there's obviously some dirt that got on there from my fingers, and yeah, I'll let you know how it goes out in the field. I think what I'm going to do is field test this, and then just chat about how well it worked or whether it worked, and then I'll finish off this video. This cable, on second thought, I could probably have another connector over here, splice that in so that I can either have this long pigtail connected to it or not. But I don't know, worst comes to worst, I can just you know, tie this up nicely and connect it to the head strap. I don't think it's gonna bother me much. Cool. Let's go try that at the field tomorrow and see how it goes. Here we are at the field. She's connected to her power to the battery. I've been charging away. I've been flying it like this for a while now. It just works perfectly. So I'm quite happy with this little modification.